used to dread visiting my mother. Because of the clutter, the piles, the chaos, we all experience clutter differently. For me, it was a source of anxiety and stress. I'd try to help and she'd get defensive. We were both frustrated and it was destroying our relationship. Then we discovered something that changed everything. My mother had ADHD and she'd been living with it undiagnosed for over 76 years. Suddenly, it all made sense. The clutter wasn't laziness, the disorganization wasn't a choice. Her brain was wired differently, and no amount of willpower or traditional organizing advice was ever going to work. That discovery became my life's work. It's why I started the Grandma Has ADHD podcast. It's why I became an ADHD coach and specialist. And it's why I am so passionate about helping women like my mother and maybe like you. Because here's what I know. Clutter affects us emotionally and physically. It damages relationships, it creates shame spirals, and the overwhelm of not knowing where to start keeps you frozen. But it's okay to ask for help. In fact, it's brave. If you're in the San Diego or Coachella Valley area, my team at Silver Linings Transitions can come to your home. We'll help you tackle the clutter with compassion, not judgment. I also work with women virtually through one-on-one ADHD coaching. And if you are overwhelmed with clutter, I can connect you with trusted resources in your area. Visit jamishapiro.me to get started or grab my book, This Explains So Much, on Amazon. My mother and I got our relationship back. You can get your peace back too. That's JAMISHAPIRO.me. Hey, here's a quick heads up before we dive in. You may hear me mention the Sparkler Society in this episode, talking about it like it's happening right now. And here's the truth. My ADHD brain got so excited about this community that I may have jumped a little bit enthusiastically. Okay, a lot enthusiastically before everything was actually ready. Classic ADHD move, right? We know what that's like. So here's what's actually happening. We've hit pause to make sure the Sparkler Society launches the right way, because this is going to change lives, and I want it to be everything you deserve from day one. We're officially launching in July of 2026, and here's what you can look forward to. Live group sessions every week, including support around decluttering and downsizing, body doubling, and ADHD group coaching. We are also addressing some of the big challenges of ADHD, worrying, overspending, and starting crafts only to lose steam. Membership in the Sparkler Society is going to save you from paying the ADHD tax. We're talking real dollars back in your pocket. And most importantly, we are building a community of women who want to get their shit together. Here's the exciting part. We're starting a wait list right now at jamishapiro.me. That's JAMISHAPIRO.me. And the VIPs who join early will get free access to shape the community before we officially launch in July. You'll help us build this thing together. So if you hear me talking about the Sparkler Society like it's happening tomorrow, just know it's coming in July, and it's going to be worth the wait. Okay, let's get to today's episode. Hi, I'm Jami Shapiro, and welcome to Grandma Has ADHD. I'm a certified senior move manager and owner of Silver Linings Transitions, where I help people navigate life's big transitions. But here's the thing. I spent years helping families move through change while completely missing the pattern that was running through my own life. I am the daughter of 2 ADHD parents, the mother of 3 ADHD children, and yep, I have ADHD too. For years, I didn't have the language or understanding for what that meant. But becoming an ADHD coach and specialist, that's been absolutely game-changing. not just for how I work with my clients, but for how I relate to my family and honestly, for how I understand myself. I even wrote a book about it called This Explains So Much. This podcast is for all of us who are discovering ADHD later in life. Each week, I bring you conversations with industry experts and people sharing their own ADHD journeys, real stories, real strategies, and often a little too much information. If you're loving what you're hearing, please share this podcast, leave us a review, and find me at jamishapiro.me. That's JAMISHAPIRO.me. Whether you're over 50 and just getting diagnosed, or you're recognizing patterns you've lived with your whole life, this is your space to navigate ADHD with others who get it. So grab your coffee and get comfortable and let's dive in. Right, starting now. Hello, and welcome to a very special, unique edition of the Grandma Has ADHD podcast. I am your host, Jami Shapiro, and I am joined today by my very good friend, Lynn Layfield. Not only is she a very good friend, we have a big history together. Lynn and I met in college in the Public Relations Student Society of America. And we were casual friends in school. And then we reconnected in our hometown of Jacksonville, Florida, back in the 90s when nobody had cell phones. And we just ran into each other the old fashioned way at the mall. So we were not in touch on Facebook, but that really started let's just say this way. I was the alternate bridesmaid in Lynn's wedding. Lynn, you want to tell why I was the alternate bridesmaid? And then we'll go a little more into it.
I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but you were initially going to hand out programs, and then one of my bridesmaids ran into some legal trouble and was unable to attend my wedding. So that immediately stepped you up from handing out programs, which I think you would have loved to do because you could greet all the guests, and you also wouldn't have had to pay for a dress. But I love that you ended up becoming one of the bridesmaids because you just added to the fun of being in the group and buying the dress and being part of all that is the bridesmaid's responsibilities. So
Sure.
a good bridesmaid, and you've been a part of my marriage, so
yeah,
it all comes full circle.
Yeah. So it's funny because I think you had the dresses. You asked me, and then it was the next day you needed to get the dresses. So you're like, I need a decision, and if you're going to do it, So P.S. So when I got married, and that's a big part of this story today, I told Lynn that she could be a bridesmaid, and she did not have to be an alternate. So I bet that made you feel really good. But what?
Yeah, well, you didn't have all your bridesmaids were upstanding people who didn't have any legal problems.
That's yes. And I'm actually interesting enough. I am divorced. That's going to be part of this podcast that we talk about, because actually, let me tell you what the theme of today's podcast is. It is going to be ADHD and its impact on dating and relationships. And I feel like I am a unique candidate to discuss that. And you're going to learn why as we talk about this podcast. But I didn't want to do this podcast by myself. I felt like it would be more entertaining if you could just hear how Lynn and I talk about things. But also, I thought that it would be fun to have Lynn join us because Lynn and I have started the Sparkler Society. And we are in the process of building this amazing community. And when I say amazing, I mean amazing community for women. I mean, we're not checking driver's licenses, but I think most women who benefit will really be middle-aged, dealing with aging parents, or they are aging and they're retiring. But, we've lived our entire lives not knowing that we had ADHD. And all of a sudden we're like, wait, that might be me. And so we're not looking for formal diagnoses. We're looking for if it quacks like a duck and it waddles like a duck and it swims like a duck and it looks like a duck. It might be a duck, but we're not requiring that you have a diagnosis. And the reality is anybody who struggles in life with being organized or making decisions or feeling overly sensitive or having too much stuff, or buying more than they should, or accumulating, or impulsive eating. All of that really falls under the ADHD umbrella, and you're the community of people that we're looking to help. One of my absolute favorite additions to the group, among many, is going to be the worry circle. When you have ADHD, tell me. I know you do this, Lynn, because I
I do.
remember when you have something on your mind, it can keep you up at night. And Lynn, I remember, and I don't think I'm wrong, that you told me you used to hate to sleep alone in your house because you would, have a lot of fear. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, imagination is a wonderful thing, but can be terrifying when it's turned on you with worrying.
Yeah.
And I learned to sort of journal my worries, but I have discovered that sometimes journaling by myself is just not enough. And so journaling and sharing is even better. And if you get that worry out, you're going to feel so much better. And it's not just about worrying and then trying to figure out your next steps. When you share it with somebody, you're actually problem solving together, so you're not alone. So I like that. I like that. I think that is probably one of my favorite parts of the Sparkler Society. I think I'm going to be on that worry chat probably as just about as much as everybody else. And so I may be the main moderator on that chat, Jamie.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the other one that I'm really excited about, Lynn, and this is probably one you need to join as well. I'm calling it the high road. So when I was going through my divorce, I have this thing, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but sometimes I want to say something so badly, I don't even care what the consequence is going to be. It is going to burn my body until I get it out. But sometimes it's really not the thing that I should be saying. Can you relate to that?
Oh, are you kidding me? I think every place that I've ever worked. I mean, it is one of those things that I've definitely felt the consequences of. It may not have been my time to tell somebody exactly everything that maybe I knew or I thought that could be better, especially sort of in the corporate work environment. I think that's where it's had a lot of impact with me. And then, also there are times when there's a nuance. And so identifying that nuance and understanding that. But yes, there are times that I've wanted to say and just be completely honest, and or have had that impulse to kind of overly share something that may have been misconstrued as like this is the way you should do things, or something like that. I don't know. I know that I do it.
You know
And
where
I
I do
do
it?
that afterwards. I feel bad and know that I shouldn't have done it.
Okay, so I do it a lot with my kids. So I have children. My youngest is a senior in high school, and my pseudo adult 22-year-old who's graduated college but hasn't like flown the nest the way she wants to yet. We go into it all the time because I'm having a hard time not just telling her what to do. And so anyway, the high road is going to be that. So when I was going through my divorce, whenever I didn't say exactly what I wanted to say to my ex-husband and I like kept it in, I gave myself a point. I'm not even kidding. I was like, "Ooh, so this is going to be sort of the equivalent to that." But I would have had a lot more fun with it if I had been able to go to a group and say, like, this is what happened, and this is what I wanted to say, and this is what I said. Then everybody can go, "Woo, yay, Jamie!" Right? And one of the things that I've learned in the ADHD space is that we suffer from rejection sensitivity. Some people call it rejection sensitivity dysphoria because we have an uneven perception of rejection. But we also have, on the flip side of that, we have what's called rejection euphoria, which, I mean, I'm sorry, recognition euphoria. So
Okay.
we like that recognition. So I can just see myself going to the high road and being like, this is what I did, and have everybody, like really making me feel better. So that's, we're just really building. That's what I say. We are building a community for people with ADHD by people with ADHD. And, Lynn, one of the other things I'm super excited about is that you're going to be helping hands-on tech support so that when people are onboarding, because we know that this is going to be a digital membership and there are going to be people who are going to be intimidated by that. And we don't want there to be a barrier for them. And so you're going to help everybody on board. And there'll be like a monthly session for everybody that comes in. And when they can do that, it'll be recorded. And then also you're going to have live Q&A tech questions because you are a tech guru, right?
Yeah. I mean, I happen to be one of those ADHD people that I found that tech could actually help me. But I also understand that technology is making some people's ADHD worse because you're
Mine.
getting these notifications popping up. You get things on your phone. When do you turn your phones off? All those things. So I can actually help, with some sessions on how can we reduce the tech noise, or how can we choose sort of the right tech products that work with the way we like to work, for the way that our brain functions. So I do have some tips and tricks there. And then, of course, I will be there to support anyone along the way. If you're inside of a chat, or you're trying to navigate within the digital membership, I will be there, always available for you in the tech space for sure.
Sure. Yeah. And I wanted to say one of the other big things that I learned as a result of my ADHD coaching is that when you have ADHD, you like to skip from, start here to go here. If there are too many steps, you just plug and play. And then what ends up happening with technology is that you didn't set it up correctly. And then all of a sudden, it's not working for you. So there are also people like me where the technology becomes a bigger problem because I'm constantly having to reboot. I don't remember passwords. It's so in some ways, although it's easy, it's also makes my life so much more difficult. So that was another really big one. But this actual episode isn't about membership, but I was excited because we are working together on this and I wanted people to hear about it. But I wanted to bring this episode specifically to the audience because I am recently, want to give the drum roll?
Oh yeah. I know I should have been there. Drum roll, please. Yes.
I'm recently engaged. But so you heard that I was married. I have been divorced. I have been unmarried for 10 years, and 5 years before I met my fiance, I went out with 150 men.
Yeah.
And I did not know that I had ADHD when I was married the first time. And I will say that the impact of ADHD on my marriage and on my relationships and on the way that I dated is significant. And it's something that we don't even consider. So I wanted to have Lynn, you come on, because I don't like to just talk to myself, and you and I always laugh. So you're going to interview me, right?
Yeah, I'm interviewing you. So yeah,
so
I think we can start with 150 dates. I think that's
right. I'm going to take a pause because for those of you who listen regularly, you know that Benji, my dog, I have to feed him to keep him quiet while I do the podcast. And there's this one treat that sometimes it gets caught in his mouth and he'll start whining. And I can't, as a good dog mom, listen to him whine. So we're going to pause while we're not going to pause, but Lynn, you're going to talk to the audience a little bit more about whatever you want to talk about. And then I'm going to come right back. Okay.
Okay. I
take a pause and they can
listen. My ADD dating while you're feeding your dog.
Sure. Go ahead. Ever wondered why helping a loved one declutter feels like speaking different languages? I did, especially with my mom. It wasn't until I founded Silver Linings Transitions, helping San Diego seniors organize and move for over a decade, that I discovered why. We all experience clutter differently, and for those of us with ADHD, it's a whole other world. If you are listening in the San Diego area and feeling stuck with moving, paperwork, photos, or home organization, our team at Silver Linings Transitions gets it. We understand ADHD's unique challenges, and we won't just help you get organized. We'll create sustainable systems that finally stick. Schedule a consultation with our team today at 760-522-1624. That's 760-522-1624, or find us at silverliningstransitions.com.
So what's really interesting is that I noticed that when it came to dating back in my single days, um, that, I was only having like 2-week relationships. So it was always, shiny toy or, you see somebody else or just the attention span just wasn't there. So the idea of trying to find a lifelong partner, I mean, there were times where I was like, well, you're not going to find a lifelong partner to be with if you're constantly breaking up with everybody after 2 weeks. So, learning to just know that about myself. And when, I finally did, I guess you'd say, find the one, because Jami was there to witness it as the bridesmaid. So, found the one, have been with my husband for about 29 years, but it was not an easy path there. I'd have to say, Jami went on that path twice. And I was with Jami on the first path, and then I've been with Jami on the second road. So you probably want to talk about the first road.
Absolutely.
Yes, let's talk about dating the first road, because that is one where when you mentioned the high road, there were a couple times that when it came to dating, you said exactly what was on your mind. And one example comes to mind is when you and I were out, and a guy would approach us, and you would immediately tell him that you were Jewish. Like, we haven't even gotten to that point, but you just wanted him to know that right then. And what's really funny is I am not Jewish, I'm Catholic. And I was like, dang it, Jami just basically made us look like two Jewish people dating. And those guys would take in the information, and they were nice, but it was like we just came over to say hello. So that's one thing that I remember. But what do you remember about that early
I don't
20s?
think that matters to our audience, because I think the
Yeah.
majority of our listeners are probably in that, if they're in their 40s and they're curious about dating relationship, they even want to know how it's impacting their marriage or
Yeah.
how it's impacting them being single. And one thing that I have learned is that the divorce rate is significantly higher among people with ADHD. I have some theories for that. I'm going to share with you my own marriage and how the ADHD impacted that. And sorry. And then, what I did, I forgot to turn on my focus. So now it's on. And I dropped a pen. Nothing like doing it in real life. So when I was married the first time, I am abrupt. Definitely. We talked about that already in the beginning. I say what's on my mind. I have a very hard time with the filter. But I will say one of the two biggest areas where ADHD impacted my marriage were both my inability to sit still. And so when my ex-husband wanted me to sit down and connect with him, and his love language was quality time, which meant me being present with him. Well, in fairness, I have 3 young children. So just as a young mom, mom of young children, that's going to be difficult when you're momming, right? But I did really have a hard time just sitting and being with him. And there were times like, and in hindsight, knowing what I know now, I recognize that I should have let some of those things go and given him that attention. So that was absolutely an impact of ADHD. Another impact was that I don't think my house ran as smoothly and well. And so because of that chaos, it impacted and I hate to say this, and I say it, again, in this podcast pretty regularly, but I think women tend to be more impacted by ADHD because we're still at a time where the woman's expected to run the household, make sure that everything is running well. And that's just another responsibility for somebody with ADHD who's already, struggling with the executive functioning and then to be the executive functioning of a home in addition to her own life. And for me, I think my ADHD got significantly worse when I had to balance everybody else in my household and not just me. So that was another way I would say that, the clutter can definitely be stressful for people. And then lastly, I am actually combined type of ADHD, which means I am hyperactive as well as inattentive. And so I have an unusual energy level that most 55-year-old women. I'm about to be 56 in 2 weeks. You are 56, Lynn, just to
I
put it
know.
20 days older than I am. But I will say that my ex-husband could not keep up with me. And I used to get really frustrated. Like, why are you just sitting around? Like, go, 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 go. Like, I get up in the morning and I'm like, I can have a full conversation. I can get up in the middle of the night. I can have a full conversation and eventually go back to sleep. Like, I just don't need the reset that other people need. So that definitely had its impact. And then, obviously we had other issues as well. People with ADHD tend to have lower self-esteem. So we might date somebody that maybe doesn't treat us as well as we should be treated because we are so used to all those negative messages that that's what we think we deserve. But also, they've shown that we have different attachment styles. And somebody who grows up in a chaotic household, which by the way, ADHD is heritable. So I grew up in a chaotic household, and then we go out and we repeat those patterns. So that's the demise of marriage number one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to throw in because you were an observer?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be with somebody that appreciates your energy. And so it is very, very hard if somebody like is wanting for you to, kind of sit down and relax. And you had so much to do. And I think the other thing that maybe you didn't bring up that you were doing, um, starting multiple businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You were starting multiple businesses at the time of raising children while running a household. So these are all the things that both feed, feed your excitement, but to a partner, um, is kind of like, well, can you just not start a business? No, I have to start a business. Can you just not do this for the children? No, I need to do this for the kids. And so the other things like the laundry, all I recall is some laundry sitting on the couch. And so, I mean, the laundry would be there in different stages of, maybe folded, but then still be there on the couch. Hopefully you're not embarrassed by that. I don't think
Oh
anybody
no,
should
I
be
forgot.
embarrassed by that, but that was definitely one of those that you were, I think I was over there one day and you were going back and forth, doing some other things, but then I was sitting like right next to a laundry basket. So it was like
I love
you were
that.
you were on a different mission, but the laundry was kind of staying where it was because that was not your mission at that moment. And I think you were cooking too. You were like cooking, answering phones, having a conversation with me, and it's like laundry is sitting there wherever it happened to stay. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think those were all contributors. And as I and of course I was there for the comments that I heard, from your ex-husband, where he was like, "Look at her, she can't sit down," and I was like, "Of course," but it's one of the things I love about her. Like when I'm with her, I feel like my energy level is met with equal energy level, and we are just running the world. So I was like, I don't see the problem with it. I don't
It's
see
so
the
funny.
problem with it at all.
I don't remember the comments. And I didn't remember the laundry until you told me. But now I think back, I have pictures of like Will as a baby, like propped up on the couch with laundry next to her. So,
Well, you probably didn't hear him because you were buzzing into another room, or you were buzzing in another area. So I was just there with whoever was kind of left in the room. So, and
yeah.
and then of course making some observations, and then asking the friend, is this what is going on with Jamie? I'm like, it's just Jamie. She's just buzzing. She's buzzing around. She's a busy bee. And I was like, that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, I think it's funny because none of us knew we had ADHD at the time, and now piecing together, oh yeah, I had ADHD, and then I start to look at all of my good friends, who also, and of you being one of them. And, we talked about, I was always very attracted to people. And I mean, just as energy level, not as like a female, like a romantic attracted, but just like, I just felt more comfortable with people who I could just be myself with and who also could match my energy. So, and then, your spouse also has ADHD. So that also, you both have it in different ways. And so you're able to sort of forgive each other for it. Or work with each other. But I want to share a little bit about, being single and dating 150 men, because I think I learned a lot. But this is where we are going to take that pause, because we are not sponsored. This content is given out of the love of my heart and my desire to impact other people's lives. But I have treats to pay for Benji and a roof to keep over my head. And that is done through Silver Linings Transitions, my move management and home organizing company that's based in San Diego and in Coachella Valley. We are part of a national organization, NASM, that if you want someone to just make your move easy and you don't want to lift a finger and you just want someone to come in, pack everything for you, help you figure out what you're going to take with you, and then unpack it, put it away, organize all the logistics. We do it here in San Diego, but we can help you find someone in your area. And then the other way that I am keeping the lights on is through the membership that Lynn and I have started. You can find out more information about that on jamishapiro.me, JamiShapiro.me. And you'll look for the Sparkler Society. And then, of course, I wrote a book because, I am always spinning. So we're going to take a pause, and then I'm going to tell you guys why I dated 150 men. So we'll be right back.
All right, Jami, spill the beans. Why 150 different dates?
Yeah, 150 different men. That's right. So let me put it to you this way, and I'll give you I'll give you an ADHD answer. So I will tell you that I really blossomed in my 40s. I did not have the same confidence in my 20s that I had. And I will tell you that I used to look for the butterflies. And so I would literally meet somebody and decide as soon as I saw him, whether or not he had any chance of being anyone that I would want to date. In fact, I even had a date at one point, Lynn, where I said to the guy, let's meet in the lobby. And if we're not attracted to each other, let's just go on our way. Like, I was so abrupt. And I will tell you that at one point I was getting so frustrated, and I do not like online dating. And I like to tell people that when you date, you need to date with the energy level that you need to. So if you are feeling negative about it, that is what you're going to attract. And if you are feeling negative about yourself, or you have drama in your life, that is what you're going to attract. So I was getting to the point that I was super negative. Well, before I knew I had ADHD, I recognized that I was motivated by gold stars. And so, like in yoga, for instance, I won the yoga challenge at my studio because every time I went to the studio, I got a gold star. And so I created something called 50 First Dates. And I got a bunch of other single parents that I knew to join me in a Facebook group. You can still find it out there. I just don't moderate it. Called 50 First Dates. And basically it was, I don't want to go on 50 First Dates, but I'm not going to allow myself to quit unless I have actually done this. So that was my ADHD working for me, even though I didn't know that I had it. I did chase the excitement. And then I read a really good book called If the Buddha Dated. And what it basically said was, that not every date needed to be a romantic connection. Some could be a friendship. Some could be, they might be a business connection, but maybe it was something you were supposed to learn from somebody. So rather than, can I see myself kissing this person, how are they going to contribute to my life, or how might I contribute to their life? So I think that was probably one of the biggest dating impacts that I had. And then I joined a group called Your Last First Date with a woman named Sandy Weiner. And that was for women 40 and over who were dating. and really needed encouragement. It was a very positive site. And you can actually hear an interview podcast with me where I don't remember which episode it was, but before I met my fiance, it was February of 2020. And we met during lockdown, July of 2020. But I was just turning 50 years old, and I got to be coached on air with her, and she basically told me that I needed to take it down a notch and that I needed to be Jami light. Because I am very intense. And I will say that I felt a lot of guilt because I did run a company. I had 3 children at home. So if I was stepping out to date, I didn't want to waste my time. And so I would ask those like filtering questions. So there was no playfulness, right? I was just like,
right.
Direct. Here's my checklist. Do you fit it? If not, then I'm not even going to give you my time. So I will say that as much as this community and being ADHD is about like being exactly who you are, when it comes to dating, I would agree that we do need to soften. And then ultimately what ended up happening and how I met my fiance, Brian, is that during COVID, I had to slow down, which, all of a sudden I couldn't go. And I had to like look at myself and say, I am the common denominator in all of these relationships that haven't worked out. And I realized that I was emotionally unavailable. And so I hired a dating coach. So I now work, by the way, as an ADHD coach, because sometimes you can't see what's right in front of you because you're too close to it. But I also think when you hire a dating coach or an ADHD coach or a personal trainer, you're saying to the universe, I want better. And so I hired a dating coach, and she looked at my profile, and then she was looking at every single text message that I was exchanging. And she's like, you've got to soften. And so she rewrote my profile, and she told me to take it down a notch. And I did. I took it down a notch. But fortunately, I met someone who is incredibly patient with me and is very accepting. And I was more abrupt probably than other people, but less abrupt than I had been. And so we had that space to build a relationship. And then within the relationship, I'm recognizing that I can't always go, or expect my partner to go. I want to also share something. One of the things that stuck out for me. So I was diagnosed with ADHD when my child was diagnosed with ADHD. And as I've shared in other podcasts, I'm 45 years old. I've graduated college with high honors. I started a business. So what, I have ADHD, and I did not pay any attention to it. And I didn't really start paying attention to it till I realized that my mom had it a little over 2 years ago. And then I became an ADHD coach, wrote a book, and really jumped into the world of ADHD. So if you had talked to me 4 or 5 years ago, me having ADHD would not have had any significance. But I remember seeing on someone's profile, I don't date people with ADHD. And I was like, what?
Really?
Yes. So there are people who are like, but I do think, and I've seen ADHD in successful relationships where we bring the excitement, but I will say that there are parts, and my cousin, by the way, I interviewed my cousin who is a PhD family therapist, and she has ADHD. And we talked about the impact of ADHD on a marriage and, what you can do to more successfully be in a relationship. And I will say that I am doing that in my partnership with Brian. But even more so is, and you can attest to this, Brian and I were together for more than 2 years before I was introduced to his daughter as his girlfriend. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
This guy put me through the ringer. And so I've never been patient. I'm like, this is what I want. This is when I want it. But I had dated 150 men, and I knew that this was a quality man. And I knew that if I sent him back into the wild and I went back out and started to date again, that I was just going to be looking for someone like him. And so I'm like, I'm going to do something different this time. And the other thing that I want to say that I did, because I talked about those butterflies, is I decided that I wanted to try dating somebody where I felt calm in my body and that I didn't have that anxiety. And in the beginning, when I started dating him, it was sort of just like, I'm just going to try something different. I'm just going to do something that I haven't done because what I've done hasn't worked. And so Brian created calm for me. And even my kids will be like, Mom, aren't you bored? And I think, Lynn, you even asked me at one point, are you going to be okay with the nice guy? Remember?
Yeah. Well, which was also said about my husband too.
Uh-huh. And it's like, you know what? I have so many areas of my life that are crazy. I just need calm in my home. Right. And so it's
Yeah.
really, and so a lot of times people with ADHD, we will go out and we will create drama. We will look to like, because we can't just be okay with things being the way they are. And what I decided is drama in my home is one area that I don't want drama. Like I just need it to be calm. And so initially I didn't know that I would be able to be with the nice guy. And I used to envy all of my friends who could be with the nice guy. I'm like, I wish I could be attracted to the nice guy, but no. And I will say, and truthfully, the criteria that I learned from Sandy Wiener's group in dating, which is what I started to apply as I got better at it, was can I be myself with this person? On a scale of 1 to 10 in attractiveness, are they at least a 4? Because if they're below a 4, it's just not going to work. And by the way, attraction grows. And would I be willing to kiss this person? That was it. And so that criteria took me from the butterflies and the instant attraction to, And so I did something different. And I wanted to share this episode because I know that there are a lot of people out there who just think they just can't seem to find it. And I think it's because they need to reframe that excitement and that the butterflies, and they need to look for a calm partner who they can trust, especially as we're rounding the second half of our life. Like, who's going to be there for us, when we're aging and when we have the issues that come up and our bodies start to go down. And, so anyway, that was a full.
No. I mean, I love that. I mean, I think a couple things in there. I mean, you did what an ADHD person should do. You got like this accountability. You got this like one-on-one sort of coaching so you could get that feedback. And then you applied the feedback and actually followed through with it, which, sometimes we start things and stop things, but you actually, now the fast 50 dates, you went through it and you got all your gold stars. But again, that's an example of almost you forcing yourself into like a structured thing without all the right tools that you got with the coaching. And then afterwards, realizing that wasn't the way, and then getting the coaching and then going the other way. I agree that, having a calm home, which is interesting because, after you become empty nesters at some point, especially I think for ADHD people, and just in your relationship, when there are no kids and chaos around, you do have that moment where you're with your spouse, or you're just at home and you're almost like, I mean, for me, it was almost like, oh, this is too quiet, right? This is too quiet. But you're right. If you're with the right person that is, that will let you go ADHD, all your other things, but not have to do that in the relationship, then it's a better calming balance. And so I can see that when I'm at your house. Now, I was just there at your house, and there wasn't any laundry on the couch because I think you found the partner that's like, that's not her thing. And
No,
so,
no. You are so wrong, Lynn. I do the laundry in the house. I am responsible for laundry. So you will hear me talk about the house. Sometimes I will leave it in there by accident. But now if I'm, and one of the things I heard on someone else's podcast, but I do it, I just hadn't articulated it, is I know I'm going to forget. Like, there is no, let's rely on my memory. So like, I step out of the laundry room after I've just put a load in the washing machine, and I set my timer. Now, I don't need to do that. Or I move a laundry basket more often. I'll move the laundry basket to the middle of the stairs. Like, so I see it, and then I take it upstairs. So because all of the bedrooms are upstairs, and so it does not ever get done on the couch. But I don't do any cooking, and I do very little grocery shopping.
Oh,
'Cause
so
I
nice.
hate to cook. So
I
am
think that I would prefer doing the laundry over cooking as well. I'm with you on that. But
well,
when I was there, I didn't see you do any laundry. But of course, I did see that there was no laundry on the couch. So that's interesting that you put some unique steps in place now. Now you still have some kids coming and going out of your house. So you still have some of
don't
that energy, but not as
no,
much.
I don't, because I have a 17-year-old who wants like nothing to do with me. Although every once in a while now she'll come to me and she'll hug me and she talks to me a little bit, but I don't have to do anything for her anymore. I don't do her laundry. I don't take her to school. I don't
Mm,
check her homework, right? Like, and so I do have my stepdaughter, who I have some responsibility for, but generally, she's not mine. And so I'm more like hands when I have them available, but she is not my primary responsibility. So in fairness, I'm not juggling life with a baby, and that is harder to find the time when you're always holding on to a child. But I will say, I think I'm winning when it comes to which task, cooking or laundry, because I can stick on a podcast, and I love to listen to podcasts or books. I love Libby. And so I can actually be entertained because I can't do anything without something else going on.
right, right. Yeah, that's another one of those common things, like
Mhm.
music always playing or podcasts always playing or just another
Some other
piece of
stimulation.
input. Yeah,
Right.
another stimulation coming in. So, I mean, I'm glad you came to the realization. Of course, I love Brian, so I'm glad you came to the realization that if you'd have thrown him back out there, somebody might have picked up that fish. So,
Right. He is a good man. And by the way, for those of you who are listening, I am a cougar. He is 9 years younger than I am, which I also say
yeah.
probably because of my ADHD. If he was my age, I don't know if it would work as well, if I'm being honest. Because I think men my age would have a hard time keeping up with me. But as we were talking about this, Lynn, of course, it reminded me so much of how we've set up this Sparkler Society, because we're building this community based on what I've already tried and hasn't worked. And by the way, trying all of those things without knowing that I had ADHD. So now that we're building an intentional community with the understanding, I mean, I am beyond, I know you are too. We're so excited. We're going to be launching, if you're listening to this, I think this podcast is going to go out before the end of January. We are going to launch our very, very first groups in February. The membership is going to open, and we're going to onboard everybody. But what we're doing, because we know that we're not going to be button tight and ready to go with everything in the place we want it to be in February. We're going to kind of be building it as we go, tweaking it around, but we're going to award the people who join before January 31st with that confidence that they had in us, to just say, hey, we are going to raise these prices at some point, because our content is not only valuable, but we're going to help people save money, understand themselves better. So because you bought in early and you trusted us, you're going to lock in the rate. And that's even going to be with I'm offering a few limited sessions where not only do they get the membership, but they also get one-on-one coaching. And I only have so many hours in the day. So, although you're going to get something from the beginning, you're not going to get everything that you're going to as we build this community. But as I said, and I had not even put those two together. That's what I love about that ADHD brain. It's like we're constantly making connections. And I see all of the ways that I took that dating journey and have put it into our membership for Sparkler Society.
Yeah, and we, just like how you grew, we're going to grow with feedback. We're going to grow with, the idea. To me, the one, of course, the worry area. I feel like from my side of the business, which is supporting that technology, that we can turn that into some other things, some other tools, things that you can just, if you're in the middle of the night and you log on, I think you're going to find there's going to be somebody out there who's ready and willing to listen to your worry and put it out there and then go back to sleep. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited about that. Also excited about the craft swap and just all of the savings. In fact, I'm ready to go with all of the things, all of my projects that are still in their wrappers. I am ready to go ahead and put that out there for anyone else who is interested in an unpainted birdhouse that has the paint and the paintbrushes and the
Mhm.
birdhouse, but just
Mhm.
has never started. That's
Well, I
me.
have
I have
I
tons
have
of those.
I have stationary embossing, like how you blow it warm and then it creates this raised. It's beautiful. I may wait until after my wedding. I probably will because I'll probably want to do something with that. But I definitely have some crafts that I can definitely all my old scrapbooking stuff, creative memories. But yeah, this is going to change lives. And I think again, we're hitting a group of people. In fact, just yesterday at yoga, I'm going to give one more anecdote and then I'll go. The yoga instructor was saying, she was sharing, as a lot of yoga instructors will, that she still struggles with that imposter syndrome. And she's like, even though I'm in my 50s, I still struggle with, wanting to make sure that I'm approved of and blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of the class, she says, we're running late. That's one of those things I have to work on. So of course I go up to her at the end of the class and I'm like, are you really in your 50s? Because she looked amazing. And from hearing her voice, it sounded so young. And she was in her 50s. And she's like, yeah, I have a 30-something-year-old son. And I said, I have to ask you, what do you think I asked her, Lynn?
Oh, you asked her if she had ADHD?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. P.S. What do you think she said about her 32-year-old son?
Oh, that he has it, for
Yeah.
sure.
So she
Yeah.
had
And
never
that was the first time she realized she had the same thing.
she never considered it. So
Yep.
I brought it up to her. In fact, I did a video. I recorded a video, but I haven't, because that's my technology. Is like, how do I go from I just shared this, what just happened, to getting it there? But that's a side conversation. But she's like, oh my gosh, I want to have coffee with you because it had, and I said, 80% of people who have it don't realize it. And by the way, she also was the owner of that yoga studio, which also goes in line with being an entrepreneur. So yeah. Anyway, I can't wait. I cannot wait for this. And for those of you who think, when you meet people with ADHD who decide that they're going to do something and they stick to it for more than 2 weeks, there's a thing.
Well, there's a passion, that we're going to give it 150% and the energy is going to be there.
Mhm.
And, and if you want to be a part of a community where we match your energy, then we're it. I'm
Yeah.
saying we're it. I'm very excited. In fact, I almost texted you at like 2 a.m. because I was working on the platform and the various aspects of the platform in the middle of the night, and then I was like, oh, she's probably not awake, but I don't know. Maybe you were, but that's
No,
how it's driven.
one more fun fact that we have got to end this, that I found out that there is a time that's a natural rhythm for people with ADHD to wake up. And like our brains just kind of pop back up. And I don't know if it is to do with circadian rhythms or what. I'm sure that's going to be one of the many things that we explore, because we're going to bring in experts on sleep. We're going to bring in experts on all sorts of things, that nutrition, anything that, might be helpful for people with ADHD. And you did say something about matching our energy. And I want to say we both have a lot more energy than most people, even in people with ADHD, because not everybody has that hyperactive body. Sometimes we just have that brain that just doesn't slow down. So just know that even if you don't have the buzzing bee energy that I have, we're going to be able to match the brain that's just constantly ruminating and catastrophizing and anyway. So, or the impulsive spending, or the impulsive, I've got to get this out. But this was a really fun episode. I appreciate you interviewing me, because it is I hate talking to I like talking, but I hate talking to myself. So
Wow, and I love the story. So
mhm,
I love the story and the evolution of the
mhm.
dating.
Yeah.
And you didn't even mention that you were on national TV talking about dating because you were selected for, what was it, Good Morning America?
It was no, it was CBS This Morning, and yes, that's so I was started to blog during COVID about everything, because I was doing nothing, and I did an episode on why I thought that COVID was going to be a great time to online date. and a producer of CBS This Morning saw my blog, and I was on national television. So maybe we'll have a link to that in this so that people can, if it gives you incentive to watch it on YouTube. But so anyway, as you all know, or if you're new to this episode, because I suspect this is going to draw some people who've never listened to the episode because of the topic, because I think there are a lot of people who really want to find love. And I certainly am the poster child for, staying at it. And if what you're doing isn't working, then there's an expression: if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. And so sometimes we need to iterate. And I definitely think my dating journey is a story of iteration and growing, and really working with my ADHD and not against it. So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Lynn, for coming in and interviewing and co-hosting with me. And I always like to end the episode with, there is never a point in our lives where we can't grow or make our lives better. And understanding ADHD really is all about making the rest of your life the best of your life. Thanks so much for listening. The opinions expressed on Grandma Has ADHD podcast are those of our guests and hosts and are intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. This podcast does not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content discussed in this episode is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, mental health professional, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or mental health concern. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guests, and producers of Grandma Has ADHD do not assume any liability for the content of this podcast. Listen at your own discretion.